All right, provide an agenda, be an active participant. These are some awesome norms and things I think we should do. Does anyone want to unmute themselves and add something that no one added that we could use as a norm for while we're doing our distance learning for summer school remediation? Log in on time. Yes, that's a big one. If you would like to share by unmuting yourself, you definitely can. Or you could actually drop your you can drop it in the comment box as well. Someone asked where's the sticky notes. They're on the left hand side over here where you can see my mouse is. There's a little sticky underneath the mouse. You click on it and it brings up the sticky notes. So this is a great collaboration tool that you can use for your students, a Google tool that IT has opened up for us to use. So this is definitely a great way to come and collaborate with your students. And you can also annotate on the board. Let me turn this on. This is my favorite one. And you can also annotate to the math teachers if you need to model math problems. All that can be done right here. Have a positive attitude. Yes. Be an active participant. Yes. All of these are great. Try, always try. Yes. All of these are great, awesome tools that you should incorporate into your classroom or rules or norms. Great. All right, you guys, thank you for participating on the Jamboard. Drop it in the comments if you like Jamboard. So now you get to see what Jamboard is. It's a digital whiteboard that's built into it's a part of the Google Suite. If the administrator chooses to add it on, it's a great addition, and feel free to use it with your students because it's just a great resource and addition to what you already have. Awesome. I like it. It's cool. Yes, I love it. I love it. You need to model things. You want to do different things. And this summer, a training on Jamboard for our summer trainings in Ed Tech. So be on the lookout for it. You'll get to learn some more cool ways you can use Jamboard. But I did want to show you that and get some ideas from you on that. So let's talk about managing your digital learning environment. We basically covered all of this stuff already. Remind the students that this is an extension of your physical classroom. Whatever rules I had in place, plus maybe a few more because we're not actually in the classroom. But your Google Classroom is your classroom, so they need to respect that space. As a class, you could go onto Jamboard, and you, as a class, can create your digital learning environment norms because it's always great to pull the students in. And they think they're making up the rules. So I think they follow them better. I used to do that all the time with my students. So definitely invite you to use Jamboard to do that on one of your first day activities, just because we cannot ignore not going over the norms and rules for the digital classroom because some of the students, we don't know if they logged on while we were out to participate in the distance learning. So we're going to just act like we don't know. When you're launching a video call, discuss with the students how to mute. Request that only students ask they ask questions in the chat feature unless you give them permission to unmute themselves and ask questions. And when I get to Google Meet, I'll show you some extensions that are available to add on where the students can actually raise their hand on the screen for you. So we'll talk about that when we get to Google Meet. So is everyone good? Let's see. I'm unable to open the Jamboard. All right. It was only allowing 50 people. If you sign into, I think I have it set for EBR. I'll have to check that afterwards for you. But I have to move on from that. So let's talk about things to remember when you're video conferencing on Google Meet. And just remember, Zoom is not permitted in our district anymore. And there's just been a lot of security issues with it. You are only presently allowed to use Microsoft Teams and Google Meet to any video conferencing with students. So your users, they should initiate the video call early to prevent any students from joining the meeting. And we'll talk more about that when we get to Google Meet. as the teacher, you want to be the first one in your classroom and the last one out of your classroom. So you want to make sure all of the kids are in, but you definitely want to hang around and make sure everyone gets out. And we'll talk about that in the meeting as well. And I'll show you at the end for the people that were not able to get to it. I hope you were logged into EBR, and I'll show you on your Google App Launcher at the end. If you want to hang around at the end, we'll talk about how to get to Jamboard. Okay, you guys? When you're recording your video lesson, make sure that you when you're recording your video conference lesson, after ending the meeting, you receive the recording via email. So they will and you'll be able to share it if you want to post it in your classroom. So that might be a great idea if you're doing live lessons. I mean, things happen. The child may have had an excuse on why they weren't able to attend class that day. You can record it for them so they can go and still engage and interact with the lesson and complete the missing work if you say so. Also, we have, if you click here, we have a link here for additional support resources. So definitely utilize this if you have any issues with Google Meet. And then just remember, always, we're here to support you. You can always reach out to us, reach out to your lead teacher. And if your lead teacher can't help you, reach out to us. We can help you. We don't mind. We're working. We're here to support you through this process. So we're gonna go ahead and well, let me talk about this first. And this is just some additional resources. I'm not gonna click on them, but we have this little document here about the norms that you could use if you didn't want to create your own. We have some created for you, and also a document for families on video conferencing norms as well, if you would like to give that to the parents of your students. And we also have some YouTube videos, links, just some resources, additional resources that you may need them. All right. I know I have a lot of pros in the building already. So, and then I may have some new users. But I like to engage and interact because I know it could be boring sitting listening to a person talk on a video conference call all day. So before we move on, I want to make sure everybody knows how to get to Google Classroom. And there are different ways you can get to Google Classroom. If some participant would like to unmute themselves and tell us a couple of ways that a user could easily get to Google Classroom, they definitely can. Would anybody like to share what are some ways a person could get to you?
Hi, I usually go in through Clever because that's a really strong platform. So sometimes when I go in there, otherwise, there may be issues with the Wi-Fi, some sort of internet problems. But when I go in through Clever, it seems always reliable.
I go through my Google startup page, and I've made it a favorite, so it's down as a shortcut for me.
I do the same. I'll go through the Google Grid menu. I know the last couple of weeks of school for doing distance learning, I had a bunch of parents contact me saying that they couldn't access it that way, but what was happening, like Google would default them to their account. So they would have to like go in and manually make sure they were logged in as a student. So that could be a problem.
Nikki, are you there? Because we can't see your screen and we can't hear you anymore.
Miss Pontaine, can you take over? Y'all don't know if y'all heard me, but I have Cox, and it is, I don't know, Cox. I have to literally constantly keep resetting my internet. I have the highest speed. I don't know if they can't handle the load or what's going on, but I have to.
Hey guys, I'll go ahead and take over for her while she's getting that taken care of. Nikki, you can just go ahead and jump in at any time. So we were setting up some norms. Can you guys hear me all well? Give me a shout out in the chat box.
Pontaine, I can hear you perfectly.
Thank you. All right, so you guys seem to be pretty pros at creating a Google Classroom. I see some people like me just Google, go to the Google Omnibox and Google Classroom. And then some of you actually go to our trusty waffle. And then some of you actually type in the URL Google classroom.google.com. Hey guys, if you are just joining us, can you go ahead and mute yourself? Unless it's Miss Washington. Thanks. All right, guys. So we're pros. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive into the live platform. And we had 3 ways. One person said we can go to the trusty waffle right here. And we also call this the Google App Launcher, and that we see that after we log into our Google Drive. And we'll have our trusty Google Classroom icon right here. And I'm kind of going from my computer tab in the live platform, and I'll just go back and forth between the presentation, which you can access. So when we go to classroom.google.com, you'll see you might be already a member or a teacher in a Google Classroom. I have a bunch. And if you are going to the platform right now and you didn't realize that you are added to the classroom, that might happen as well. You can notice, here's a little trick. In this classroom right here, the one that says Den Ambassador, I'm a student. That's why I can see this little person icon right here. And when I don't have it, that means I'm either a teacher or a co-teacher in these classrooms. And to start, to join, or even to create a new classroom, this is what our students would do. To join or to create a new classroom, we would go into the right top hand corner and click on create or join a class. And if it's your first time creating a class or joining a class, you'll see if you have to select I'm a teacher or a student. And this is where you would fill out your class information. I would suggest if you teach Algebra 1, several sections, you give that a name. But this class name is the only thing that is required right here. So when you create your classroom.
I'm sorry, Miss Pontaine, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm back. I just have to let everybody know I'm so sorry. Cox is not my friend right now, that I like them right now. So if you want me to go ahead and take back over, I can. Thank you for taking in while we had this Cox dilemma.
Okay, whatever you want to do, I'm right here.
All right, thank you.
Let me go ahead and share the screen.
All right, you guys. So thank you, Ms. Pontaine, for showing you how to actually log into to Google Classroom. And like I said, you guys are already pros. You have it, you know it. You already know what to do. So you know what to do. So, but one thing I do want you guys to remember is Google does make a lot of changes just out of the blue, out of all of a sudden. And if you haven't noticed today, like today when I woke up, I called Haney. I said, Haney, what happened to the share button? If you haven't noticed, your share kind of looks different now. So as you're teaching summer school, you may notice that now they're changing things, taking that feedback and making updates. So Google will change things just on the spur of the moment. So just be mindful of that. So if you happen to go to your Google Classroom one day and things change, I'm sorry, because they really will not just like send out a mass email and say we've made the changes. They'll just go ahead and do it. All right, so let's go ahead and start at the People tab. I know all of my pros in here have already done this. But when you can go here to your Google Classroom to add people, which would be your teachers and your students. So if you are co-teaching with someone, or your administrator or your lead teacher wants to be added, click on this little person right here and make sure you add them to your Google Classroom. Don't ever add an administrator as a student. Always add them as a co-teacher, just to make sure what's going on. Yes, Ms. Mayweather. Technology is not perfect. It will go out, but guess what? I didn't panic. I hurry up and reset that internet, got right back on. So another thing is you may want to have a student lead for your class. So if something like that happened, that student can take control until the teacher comes back or something like that, or have it backed up on your cell phone. I turned my Wi-Fi off on my cell phone now, so I won't lose connection. So you just got to think about things, and as it's a learning thing. As you go, you learn from what happened. All right, and then of course you come here and you add your students. I want to ask the comment in the comment box. How many ways can you add students to your Google class? What are the ways that you can add the students to your Google class? All right, codes. Yes, codes is my friend. Some people, for whatever reason, they want to manually enter the students in. But the best way is to give the students the code. So when I go here to my students tab and click on the little plus sign, here you'll see where it prompts you to add the student's name or email. Sometimes, so I use my nephew as a student in here, and then of course I have Miss Haney. I've never really sent him anything on here. So I had to type in his whole EBR username with the @ebrschools.org to actually find him, which is considered their emails as well. So you could definitely invite your students in here if you want to, but I think the easiest way is to add the students with the code. Do we add Ms. Sampay or Ms. Mayweather to the teachers in your class? Unless they ask, I would not. I'm sure they don't want to be in all of those classes. That could be a lot of classes and a lot of emails and alerts. If Ms. Mayweather is on here, she would like to answer that, but I would say no, because that would be a lot for them.
So what I've told the leads, Nikki, is that they are more than welcome to. We talked about this a couple days ago with the leads. You shouldn't copy. Well, you can't copy my classroom, but of course you can download and copy all of the forms and attachments, presentations, links, and put them into your own. So I don't necessarily, I don't want to be, and I don't necessarily need to be a collaborator, or even, now I have a couple of leads who've already made their Google Classrooms and have added me as a student to join their classroom, just so I can see what's going on or comment, but that is definitely not necessary. And those are the people that just want me to do their work. Mary Wells, I know why you did that.
So yeah, because that could be if they have Miss Mayweather and Miss Sampay, they have on their notifications for when things are going on. That could be a lot for them. So definitely, if they don't ask for it, I wouldn't do it. But if your lead, definitely have your lead on there if you want them to come in and see what you're doing in your classroom. All right, so this is where you can add your students, and of course, to communicate with your parents, you definitely can invite them to come in and get those Google summaries. I know you're all familiar with that from your regular classroom. Parents can get, they have changed it now. I can get a daily summary, or I can even get, and I'll show you an image of the message, how it looks now. Or I can get a weekly summary of my student, what assignments he have, if he's missed any assignments. It just keeps the parent updated on the student. So if you can get those from the parents, if the student does not already have it in, that would be great, just to make sure that they're actually, that'll be your backup to make sure they're actually doing their work and you have parental involvement and they're involved in the summer remediation to make sure the students are properly getting the remediation and actually interacting and engaging with the class. And you'll see here, so I'm gonna put, let me type mine here. You'll see here, I've already accepted as his parent, and you'll see I have it here. And then this is what it looks like if the parent has not accepted the email from Google yet. And once it does, it'll change from invited and it'll show that the parent has accepted the email. So definitely, if you can't get those from the parents, definitely do. There's just a added bonus to ensure that the students are actually engaged and they're doing their work and you have parental involvement while you're conducting your summer remediation. And also right here, if you click on students here, it gives you some actions that I want to talk about. Might as well talk about it while I'm here. When I click on this, I can email, but of course, remember you guys, Gmail is not turned on for any of us. So this is what's going to happen when you click on that link. So don't use it because remember, we're blocked from Gmail. Our district does not use Gmail. So that action won't work for us. But you can remove a student. Let's say maybe the student has dropped out of the remediation and you want to remove them. This is where you can come and remove that student. Or if the student needs a time out from responding in a stream or a chat because they're not following the distance learning classroom rules, this is now where you come to mute them. So just know where these actions are. All right. Are we good with, before I move on, you guys, are we good with actually creating a Google Classroom? And before, because I don't know if Miss Potson talked about that. I think she did. Are you guys good with creating your own Google Classroom? Do you need me to go over that? All right, I see a lot of yeses. I think, like I said, all of you guys are pros. All of you are Google pros in here. So I hope all of you have your Google certification because I know all of you guys are Google pros. All right, yes, 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 awesome. And also, there's the little 3 dots over here. Just give you some more options. I can email the parents, email the student, but just remember, it's cut off for we don't have email. Now I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the grades. I know for me as a parent during this distance learning time, I can only speak for myself. Y'all tell me how you feel about it. It was great, even though I knew that the teacher, I can't sync these grades to J Campus. I know there was going to be additional work for the teacher. It was just great for me as a parent and for my child to see what his grade was on the assignment, and if the teacher left any feedback, I could come here and see it. So it's definitely up to you if you want to utilize the grade feature, but it's definitely useful, and it's just another way of communicating with the students and parents on how the child is doing, getting a visual of how they're doing right there in the Google Classroom. So it's definitely up to you. And then I'm gonna pull up on the student side so you can see on the student side They don't have that. So when the students go to the actual classwork and they go to view their work, they'll get to come here and see what their grades are. So it's definitely, I'm leaving it up to you guys on if you want to use the grading feature. Is your choice. I don't know what directives you have given, but it's there. It's it's just another, I see it as another way of communicating with the parent and student while we're doing our distance learning, how well or what they need help on and improving their work. So I just see it as a communication. It's definitely up to you what you would like to do with it. So it's your classroom. You can run it how you want. All right. So is everybody good with the people tab? You go to the people tab to add people, your teachers and your students and even your parents. So definitely try to encourage your parents to get those email addresses so that you can add them there. And I wanted to show you when I click here, Google's they making updates, and I love the updates and the changes that they're making. Is just I just love them. It's awesome to me. I don't know why that's not coming up. But here it is. All right, so the parent will get a invite. Looks something similar to this. Let me try to make this bigger. All right. All right, it'll get this is not working. All right, there we go. They'll get an invite, whatever email they sent, and it'll look something like this. It's going to be important if the parents have never signed up for this, that they have to go in here and accept that they would like to be a guardian in here. And then once they hit accept, it'll ask them, do they want daily or weekly reports of what the child is doing in your classroom? So definitely utilize that feature. It's nothing but a plus to have parents support you through this process. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the classwork tab then. All right, so has everyone been to explore the new Google Classroom? You see the new features. Do you like the new setup? I think it's more organized and it's definitely going to be efficient for distance learning. I can organize things and it's not all over the place. I can create, I can just keep it organized, keep it if I want to do modules, week, whatever it is. I think it's just more streamlined and I think it's more clean, the update. So are y'all liking the new classwork updates that Google has, and have you explored them? All right, yes, yes. I see a lot of yeses. All right, I have not used Google Classroom. All right, so we're gonna go through it today, but definitely take the time to explore Google. And like I said, the Google is always making updates and changes. So how it looks today can look totally different because they're always working on improving, making things better than what it is. Someone says, I love creating topics under the classwork tab. Me too, because it's just so easy for the learners to come over here and click on what they're looking for instead of just scrolling through all of the topics. I think it just makes it more easy and streamlined for all of our students. So it makes it easy for the parents so they're not frustrated as well, because we have parents trying to help the students. So yes, ma'am, I agree. So let's talk about the classwork, creating assignments here in the Google Classroom. And I want to ask a question to you guys before I do that. Are you teaching, or is it still kind of similar to the summer school? Are you teaching just ELA all day and you switching your groups of kids, or are you having to teach all of your subjects? Y'all let me know in the comments. All right, some people said both, ELA and math. Okay, just ELA. Miss Morgan, are you switching with the other teacher? So when you teach your ELA students, will they have to go over to the math teacher? All right, okay. All right. All right. So good. Most people are teaching one subject, so you'll be able to organize your classroom how you want. Just I see most people say just ELA or math, high school biology only. Awesome. Great. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the classwork tab. But before I actually talk about the classwork tab, let me go ahead and talk about the gear, because they have changed this up a little. If you haven't been in here, they did make a little change. So when I click on that gear over there, of course, this is where I can come and change the name of my class if I want to, add a description, a section. But remember, all of that is not required, only the name. Then I'll go over here to general. And when I'm here at general, this is where I can see my class code. I can display my code. Of course, you guys know that. I can copy the code. Maybe I want to put it in my Remind, because that's where I've been communicating, my dojo or my old classroom, however I'm communicating, so they can join my summer remediation. If I want to reset my code for whatever reason, I can come here and disable my code. Now, some people may say, why would I want to disable my code? One reason you may want to disable your code is because students have figured out, hey, if I join that Google Classroom, that teacher is going to monitor me on Goguardian. And Goguardian is tied to Google Classroom if that teacher has it synced up that way. And they know if they remove themselves from the Google Classrooms, I can no longer be monitored in Goguardian by that teacher. So that's one reason I would disable my Google Classroom code. Once all of the students are in, I've checked my roster, they're all in, I can disable that code, because there's no reason that you should leave the class, because you really can't mistakenly remove yourself from the Google Classroom. You have to press remove and a button or two to get there. So you can't make a mistake and do that. So, and Ms. Patan is going to talk about Goguardian shortly. But that is one reason why I would disable my code. Once they're all in, there's no reason that they need to come and ask me for the code again. You're in, stay in until the end of summer remediation. Also, this is where you set your settings for your stream. I know some teachers are like, I don't want to do that. But you're gonna have to at some point. These are your options. Students can post and comment. Now, if you have your class together, your rules are in place, and you really, 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 really trust your students to post and comment, feel free, but make sure you're monitoring that at all times. And remember, you can come in here at any time and change it. So you may want to have that open only for the times that you're in here. And then you, after class, you can come in here and switch the settings. There's another option. Students can only comment. That means they will only be able to comment on your post. A lot of teachers like to stick with that. It's definitely your choice, but whichever you go with, make sure you monitor your students at all times. Will Google notify the teacher when a student has left the Google Classroom without permission? On here, it may email you with the new updates. Ms. Haney, does Google send an email notification when someone removes themselves from the classroom?
I've never experienced that, but that's because I've never had anyone leave a classroom, but to my knowledge, no. Under notifications, though, you may be able to drill down specific email notifications that you get according to what happens in your classroom. But to my knowledge,
right.
No.
Right. It's never notified me of that. And I'll show you the settings, because when I show you the other classroom settings, that's not one of the options. I really wish it would. So maybe you can recommend that Google does that, add that as one of their notification features, that when a student removes themselves from the classroom, that they notify the teacher. That would be awesome. That would be an awesome update, but unfortunately, it doesn't do that. I have not experienced that. Ms. Haney that hasn't experienced it. People in the comments haven't, so no. But you can definitely recommend it to Google, and I'm sure they'll make that update. They take our feedback and they run with it. Only teachers can post or comment. You like I said, go back and forth through these comments, but at some point you're gonna want your students to comment, because you're gonna want to have discussions. You're gonna want them to learn how to have discussions and collaborate online and teach them the rules. So don't just shut it all the way down. You just have to monitor it closely. And notice as I'm going back and forth, whichever option I choose, there's a save button that pops up over here in that right-hand corner. This is one of the few times when I'm using Google that I do actually have to hit save. So when I come here under these settings, I have to hit save to make my final changes. Otherwise, if I just hit this X, none of the changes are going to take place. So just remember to hit save. All right. Another important feature I would like to remind you about, you might want to make sure that you have your show deleted items on, because students may post or comment things that are inappropriate. And they think because, oh, I deleted it, the teacher wasn't in here, she's not going to see it. I like to turn that on so that I can see the deleted items at all times so that they're not getting away from me. And also, if you would like to utilize the Goguardian Summaries, you have to come here under that gear and turn it on. Just remember that. And then also, this is where you'll see where I can actually turn on Google Meet and get the link for it. And I'll come back to this shortly. And then of course, down here is the grading. So I'm just gonna hit save for that. And this is gonna save my settings for that Google Classroom. But also, you have to come here to the hamburger on the left-hand side over here where my mouse is. When I click here, scroll all the way down, and they've tucked some more settings for you here. While you're doing your distance learning, it's going to be important for you to come here and turn on your email notifications, because this is going to help you monitor your distance learning classroom. So you want to make sure that it's turned on so that Google will notify you of things happening. Like I have this turned on. If someone comments on my post, Google will email me and let me know. They will notify me that someone has commented. So these are your options. It gives you some options for comments. You go through here and you read and you decide what settings you want turned on or off, and you will receive a notification about these settings. So definitely go to those two gears and make sure your settings are how you want them before Monday when you actually start teaching. So I did want to talk and discuss about that. Are we good on setting our settings in those two locations? Do we have any questions about those? How will students receive our Google Classroom codes to join? Miss Addison, you would have to, I'm not sure on how your site is communicating with the students and the parents, however they're communicating with them. You can send it through that platform, or you can definitely go ahead and manually add the students to there. But you check with your lead and see how are you getting that information out to your parents. I'm not sure each site has a different way that they're doing that. I don't know if Ms. Mayweather is in here to answer that, but it's definitely however your site is communicating that information with your parents and the students.
I am still here, Miss Nikki,
Okay.
and it is a site-based decision. We have some leads who are, so what the leads are given is a spreadsheet of all applications. The applications came in on a Google form this year for the most part. So that spreadsheet is sent directly to the leads, and some of the fields on it are phone numbers, email addresses, so they can mass copy them that way or contact that way. The leads get a big spreadsheet from me, and they can either share that with their teachers on Google Sheets, or they can separate them out, copy and paste, and make their own. So again, that's a site-based decision. I know some sites are actually physically calling those numbers. Some are sending a mass email. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a site-based decision for the lead and the teachers.
Thank you, Ms. Mayweather. Another question to add the students in here. You can, if you need help with getting your student's username, I can definitely help you with that. Some of the students, when I type in their name, it doesn't work. I'm gonna see if I type in his middle name. We can make sure we can help with getting your username for your students. It's no problem. We have access to it. So if your leads need us to get that for you, tell them to reach out to the people on that email on that first slide. We will get that out to you. If you want to manually add them, that's no problem, because we know we don't have email. So we can definitely help out our individual schools that we're assigned to get that if you need that. So let it go through your lead, and we'll assist you with that process. If that's the way, if your lead wants you to manually add them and you need the usernames, it doesn't take us but a few minutes to get that report and shoot it over to them. All right. All right, this is another question. This is a shift in topic, but do we have protocol regarding helping students if the need arises to address current stressful issues in Minnesota and elsewhere? I'm gonna let Ms. Mayweather get that if she's still here.
I am still here, and
okay,
my pay grade, but that is a great question that I will forward that to Mr. Sam and Ms. Sampe. I like to stay in my lane when it comes to Ms. Sampe being the one to give those kind of directives. Who was that asked that question?
Erica Carter.
Ms. Carter, is there any way that you can put that in written form? It doesn't have to be anything formal, but I just want to make sure we address it. I've got 85 in the inbox right now, so I don't want to forget it. So if you would just put that in a very simple format email to LEAP Remediation, I'll make sure we address that.
Will do.
Thank you. All right, you guys, so let's finish up with
Nikki, I'm sorry to interrupt you really quickly. They had a question in the chat. Someone said about the email addresses. The kids don't have actual email, but their accounts are email addresses.
Yes.
I just sent you an invitation to my Google Classroom. Can you show them how it will look on the student's home page on their side?
Oh yeah, I have a student page up. So.
Oh no, like how they have to actually hit accept on the student side.
Oh yeah.
So I just added it so they can see. So if you guys do decide to add them manually on the student side, when they log in, they will see a join button for your classroom.
All right, so y'all see that join button? So all they come here, they'll see, of course, you know, this is the home screen where all of their Google Classrooms that they're joined are here. So Ms. Haney just sent me that as a student, and now I'm gonna hit join, and I'm joining the Google Classroom. And now I'm in. Was that the question, Ms. Haney?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Oh, no problem. We have to be visual because that's all you can do is see it here right now. So definitely no problem. All right. All right. So let's go back to the classwork and talk about the create button. You're going to be creating assignments and posting them here for your students. So of course they have this great create button right here. And when you click on it, you'll have the option to do assignments. And I like how they have the little icons. So when the students or even you see the icons, you know what they mean. I don't know why, I just hate that they have the assignment and the quiz the same. Maybe they should change that. I should suggest that to them. But they have the different little icons, so I know if it's a Cami assignment. If I have the Cami extension downloaded, I've activated that. On a regular assignment, a quiz, this is a question, this is the teacher had posted material, or it's a topic. So I like that they've added those icons. So when I click on create assignment, this pops up. As a distance learning teacher, it's going to be very important that, of course, you're going to be required to put a title, but you're going to have to be very explicit and direct and detailed in your directions and instructions here for your students. Just because they can't see you face to face and and you're not in an actual classroom, it's going to have to be very detailed and explicit here in your instructions. And when you're doing your assignment, you can attach many things to you want. So if you want to create a screen record, and I'll show you some examples that I already have here. So let's say I wanted to add things that I've created for my Google Drive here. Click on add. And of course, I'm sure my Google pros, y'all already know when I click on add, it's going to pull up my Google Drive where I can pull things right in from my drive. So I'm going to just do that. Let me just use this. All right, so I can add things. If I want to add a file from my computer, I can click here and select the file from my computer. So you have multiple ways to add resources here for your students. So if I record a screencast, just reviewing the lesson, or me teaching the actual lesson for my students and they're to go back and watch it, I can add it here. I can add YouTube files. So this is where you can add the additional resources that the students will need with the instructions and the title to make sure that they're successful in your distance learning. And also, you can create things from right here as well. I'm glad that Google added that feature. Now, if you have more than one Google Classroom that you'll be using for whatever reason, remember, you can come here and you can post this assignment to multiple classes. So it'll save you a lot of time. If you come here, if you have more for whatever reason, you can come click over here and choose the assignments that you want, the classes that you want to assign that to. But of course, if I choose more than one class, notice that I can't differentiate the students at that point. It's going to send it to everybody that's in the class. So just keep that in mind. If I choose more than one class, I cannot differentiate which students get it. And you decide on your points. That's going to be your personal decision. I do suggest putting due dates on the assignments because it's going to help the students stay organized. And I'll show you in a second on the student side why I suggest that you put a due date because it's going to be helpful for the students and a time for the parents on their end. And of course, I definitely would create topics. The topics make it easy for the students and even yourself to navigate through the classwork stream. So definitely create topics for your assignments. And however you want to call it. I know some people for distance learning, they've been putting week 1 with the date just to keep it organized, but whatever works for you. Everybody has their own way of doing things, but definitely come here and create a topic or use one of your topics you already have and do it here. And then also remember, Google's made an update where I can create a rubric, reuse one, or import one for sheets. If it's a big assignment and needs a rubric, definitely attach it there and make sure you click assign. And then also, I love this feature. If you're one of those teachers, you want to get all of your work already done, but you don't want the students to see it yet, then definitely you can schedule the assignments to post at the time and date that you want them to for the students so that you don't forget, or you can save your drafts there, or you can actually just assign. So don't forget about that feature in Google. Someone said they can't see. Can y'all see what I'm doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. Well, just refresh your screen if you can't see, because I'm looking on my phone. I'm watching on my phone as well. Just to make sure I'm still visible. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. So right here, for the person that couldn't see, I hope you've refreshed. You see right next to here is a little drop down. Definitely utilize this. You can go ahead and get your lessons scheduled to be posted at whatever time and date you want, or you can create your drafts so you can have that out of the way. So definitely utilize that feature. It's a great feature in the Google Classroom. All right, so that is how you post an assignment. Also, you may want to utilize the quiz feature. And your students most of your students hopefully have our Chromebooks that were issued from the district. You can come in here, create your Google quiz. And if they're on the Chromebooks, you can come in here and lock them while they're taking their quiz. If you didn't know, Google Forms now has a new feature that if the students are on Chromebooks, I can lock it to where they can't go to any other tabs but that Google Forms tab while they're taking that assessment. So there might be a safe, secure way that you can assess your kids. And that's not to say they don't have a cell phone or another device that they're going to look up, but they won't be able to do it from their Chromebook. So definitely utilize that quiz feature if you would like to. It's there for you. So those are all of your options underneath the create button. And if you look over here, you see where it says all topics, and then the student could actually navigate through and see the different topics. Now I want to pull up and show you, because I said earlier, it's going to be important. I suggest that you put the due dates on there for your students. So let me go click back home. So this is a student in my class. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. And notice over here on this left-hand side right here, this is kind of like their agenda of work that's coming up that's due. When you put those due dates over there, it places those assignments here for those students so they'll know, oh my goodness, I have this assignment due tomorrow. I better get to it. So that's why I do suggest that you put a time and date stamp on your assignments in your Google Classroom, because it will help your students stay organized and they really won't have excuses on why I didn't do my work. So if I click on it, so if I click right here on this assignment, the student will be able to come and see, oh, this work is done. This is what the teacher expects of me. I can come in here and complete the work. Now, so the student, of course, they can come over here. If they're going to take their quiz, they can click on the quiz. It'll pop up. And then when they're finished, they can mark it as done. Or if it's something they need to turn in, that students actually have to turn in. So you're going to have to remind them of that, because a lot of students, they may actually attach your work, but they don't hit turn in. Have you guys experienced that? That the students, they've actually attached the work or whatever documentation you have, but they did not press turn in. That's going to be very important for the students on their end. They have to hit turn in, or it's going to be like, I didn't turn in my work, it'll get a 0, or it's late, then the teacher is mad. So they actually have to turn it in. So you might want to make, and I do have a PDF that I created for parents and students, just because I know the parents in my own child's Google Classroom, they were struggling with that. So the teacher asked me to make a little thing so I can send it out, or I can attach it to our presentation, and you can send it to your parents. But that's very important for your students to actually turn in the assignment. And then, of course, just know your students can't come here and send you a private comment. So just be mindful of that. So also, let me see. And then I just like how Google has streamlined this. It's gonna keep your learners organized. So when I come here, if the teacher has all of their stuff together, it has the dates, is assigned, it shows, it comes and gives them agenda. I see what's assigned to me. If I have work missing, what I need to do. So if I click right here on this assigned assignment and I go to view details as a student, then I can come and see what the teacher has assigned to me. Here are all of my assignments. And then I can actually complete the assignments here. And also remember, the students could actually attach additional work. So maybe you're a math teacher and they had to do a quiz, but you want to show them I mean, you want them to take a screenshot of their actual work, how they worked out the math problems. They can attach that file from their computer, from their drive as additional evidence. So definitely talk to the students about how to attach files, because they do have that option, marking their assignment as done and turning in their work. So this is how it looks on the student's end when the teacher has it together and it's organized. It shows them this. So this is how their classwork looks, and you'll see their topics are here. Everything is organized. And then of course, as a student, they can, if the teacher puts the topics, they can go underneath the topics. So it keeps them very organized, leaves room for no excuses on why you don't have your work. And then of course, under classwork, students have access to a calendar. So when you click on that Google Calendar, when the teachers use that feature for the time and date, they'll get to see on their calendar that this assignment is due. So it leaves no room for excuses. Oh, I didn't know, because of course the students have to come into the Google Classroom and interact. So they're getting reminders for over on the left-hand side, and then the Google Calendar is keeping them updated as well. So I like how Google has this streamline to keep the educators, ourselves as a user updated, and our students. It keeps them very organized, and it helps them stay organized with that. So do I have any questions about classwork before I start talking about the stream and then Meet?
I have a question.
Yes.
When you showed us how to create the quiz, okay, when I was doing my last session with my kids, they were always turning in their work on a Google form, but I could never actually see their work when I clicked on their name. Is that because they didn't hit the submit button?
They didn't. They clearly didn't turn it in. So let's go to classwork. Let me do this one. So when I go to classwork, I'm back on my teacher side. When I go here, I'll see who's turned in, who's assigned. So either way, when I click here, I can go here and click and see this is live, real time. So I can go in here and click and see what the student has done, or even assist the student. So when you did that, you couldn't see anything?
No, I couldn't see anything, but if I went actually to the form and I click the form, if I go to classwork and I click the form, and it'll bring up where I could see the individual responses, and I could actually see the form that they submitted with the answers, but it would not allow me to actually put the grade in because they couldn't see it because it's saying they didn't turn it in.
Yeah, so they have to, Miss Haney, if you can chime in, because they have to actually turn it in, or it's just gonna sit there, because that's why I've been looking on both sides as a student and a teacher to play with it to see. But to my knowledge, Miss Haney, you still there? They have to hit turn in.
Even though they didn't hit turn in.
Also, are they hitting submit on the Google form? Did they actually submit it after they finished?
Some kind of way, just where the number says 0 for the turn in, there was no number. But when I hit the classwork and I went to individually.
No, but I'm talking about on the actual Google form itself. At the end, it tells you.
It tells them, they said they press submit.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, you have to, can you add me as a co-teacher in your class? I'll have to take a look at it and see as soon as we finish this call, and I'll help you with that.
Okay.
So we'll see what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so are we good with the classwork? Like I said, I know y'all are pros, y'all have it. Just remember that everything is here and organized for the students. All right, so let's talk about the stream. The stream is the first place when the students come into Google Classroom after they click on the class that they actually want to go into. This is the first place where the students will actually see what's going on. So this is where you might want to have your announcements. You might want to post your dorms here. And of course you can have discussions here, but just know this is the first place where students are going to come in and see. So it's always a good idea to maybe be mindful and post, hey, these are our classroom expectations. And so like for this class, this is the classroom expectations. I just need to make sure every day I move the post to the top, because as I post, of course, it's going to start filtering down to the bottom. So a good thing to do is click on those 3 dots and move it to the top. And then you can come up with your own classroom expectations. Everybody has their own rules, their own way of things that you want their students to do while they're in your online classroom. And just remind them, give them a friendly reminder every day. So utilize the stream for any announcements, definitely for any discussions that you want to have with your class. This is what you want to utilize the stream for. And remember, on your stream, you can add things from Google Drive. You can add links, files, and YouTubes. And of course, you can type your message here. So if you want to use it to post your morning message or whatever it is, this is what you will utilize your stream for. All right, so do we have any questions about the stream? I know I'm pretty sure you don't. Like, it's pretty self-explanatory. Will you leave this
Ms. Washington? They love it. They love your classroom expectations. Can you drop that into the chat?
Oh yes, definitely. I sure can. I'll drop the slide so you can edit and use your own Bitmojis. Yes, ma'am. All right. Do we have any questions about the stream before I move on? I'm going to cover Google Meet, and then we're going to do one more thing and then get you guys out of here. All right. All right, so let's talk about Google Meet. Whoever is not muted, can you please mute yourself? So is anybody afraid of doing a Google Meet? I'm just afraid. I do not want to do a video conference. I am terrified. Is anybody in here terrified of doing your Google Meet video conferencing? Don't be, Miss Addison. Okay, so hopefully we can help you get through those today. All right. Don't be, y'all. It's not that bad. It's not that bad, y'all. So hopefully today, after we go through Google Meet, you'll feel more comfortable. And I'm going to challenge you today to do a Google Meet with some of your friends or your family, just to practice it, or just one other person. Practice it with somebody you're comfortable with, because that's the only way you're going to get comfortable with it, by actually going ahead and hitting that button, starting your meeting, and get the jitters out and actually practice it. You definitely want to practice it before you go live with your students, because you already know, the students already know how to use it. They know how to use it back, front, flip, upside down, and they know all the tricks and tips about it. So definitely practice it. All right, so for Google Meet, on the teacher's end, remember we talked about this gear right here. Let me make this a little bit larger for y'all. Remember we talked about this gear. This is where you, as the teacher, you go and you activate this Google Meet. And we talked about it at the beginning. When you start your Google Meet video conference, you want to be the first person in there and the last person in there, because you don't want your students hanging around, having their own video conference and chat going wild in there. So you definitely want to monitor that to make sure you're the first in and you are the last out. And a lot of teachers like to come in and turn it off. So you see I have it, it's not visible to students right now. So when I go in on my student end over here, you can see that student does not see the Google Meet because I have it turned off. It's not even here under classwork. It's turned off. So when it's turned off, they cannot access it. And as a student, when they log into Google Chrome and they try to go to Google Meet and they wanted to start their own Google Meet, they will be in for a rude awakening. When they go to it, is only going to ask them to join a meeting. They could never start their own meeting in Google Meet. So IT is taking care of that. They cannot start their own meeting. They can only join yours. All right. So is everybody good with that? Your students cannot start their own Google meeting. It just won't happen. And also, let me go ahead and turn it on. So I'm going to come over here. You see the little bar. I'm going to turn it on. Great question. Even if it's visible, we're going to test it out. I'm going to show y'all something. So I'm going to turn it on, hit save. Then I'm going to go back on my students' end. Refresh it. All right, so now I've refreshed it. I've turned it on. Now the students say, oh my goodness, Miss Washington's turned on Google Meet. We're gonna have a ball. And I click on the link. Uh-oh, look what happened. They have this set up in place as security. If the teacher has not started the meeting, they should get this message. We encountered a problem joining. You cannot create a meeting yourself. Like I just said, the students cannot create a meeting and they have to wait for the teacher. So I love this, but it's technology. I'm not going to say if they keep clicking on the button 20 million times that they might eventually get through. So, you know, it's technology because I think eventually if they keep clicking, they might eventually get through. But 9 times out of 10, they will get this message, thankfully, that they cannot join until the teacher is actually started their meeting. So I love that feature. I'm glad they have that secure. So you don't worry, because that's why a lot of teachers say, oh, well, I'm just going to turn it off while I'm not using it. That's a good practice, though. Turn it off. And then all you got to do is go to the gear and turn it back on. Turn it off, turn it on. It doesn't take but a second, just as a extra safety precaution. Like at night, we lock, like when we're at home, we lock all of our doors. But as an extra safety precaution, we invest in security systems. So you just use that as an extra safety caution. All right. So now you can see that Google Meet is on. So the students will see it on their stream and the teacher will see it on their stream. And also the students will see the Meet icon now under classwork. So that's how you'll know that it's on for your students as well. And when the teacher turns it off, then you'll see a line through the little Meet symbol right there. So you'll know it's off, but you will always get to see it. And then remember, when you go to the gear, if you just want to change your meeting code, you can reset it here for whatever reason. Your Google Meet conference, you don't have to. You can use whatever one they have here, or you can reset it. It's definitely up to you. But remember, any changes you make here, you got to hit save. So I didn't make any changes, so I don't have to hit save. So that is how you turn on and off your Google Meet. Yes, you can use the same code each time. You don't have to reset it. But people just as an extra safety precaution, like I said, you can reset it. People just want to be extra safe and secure, and there's nothing wrong with that. Reset it every day. It doesn't take but a second, I promise you. So whatever's going to make you feel comfortable and safe, do what's best for you. That's what everyone has to do, what's best for them. So, all right. So now my Google Meet is activated and turned on. So now as a teacher, I can go in here and start my meeting. And this is how it looks when it comes up, you guys. So when I'm ready to actually start my meeting, make sure your hair's together and all of that stuff, because your camera's gonna come on, people will see you, and you have your own appropriate attire. And then I'm gonna hit join now. And then of course this pops up like this with the information that you could share if need be. But now we're gonna talk about the screen. What do we see? All right, so over here on the left-hand corner, you'll see the join code, the joining information. And if I did this, if I set this up in Google Calendar, I can definitely add attachments here for my participants. But here on your little toolbar, these are icons that you need to make sure you go over with your students and make sure you're familiar with it. Of course, you know this microphone button right here means that it's mute. So you might have to show your students how to mute. Most of them, they do. If they hit this, then of course they're leaving the call. It's gonna hang up if they hit the phone. Right here is turning your camera on or off. All right, and then over here, this is a great accessibility feature for our students. They have the closed captioning. If you have hearing impaired students, then definitely encourage them to turn this feature on. I find that it works pretty well. So definitely use that accessibility feature that Google Meets have. Simply click on the captions icon to turn it on or off. And then of course you have your present now screen. This is where people, I think they get afraid. This is just my personal, everybody do what's best for them. I just like to do my entire screen. That way, when I click from tab to tab, you see what I'm clicking. I don't have to worry about all of the different stuff. I like to switch from tabs. I like to just be able to switch from tab to tab. And I just share my entire screen. You can share a window, and this is what pops up when you share a window. So you'll get to choose which window this pops up. So if I click share my entire screen, this pops up. And of course I click on, I have to actually click on the screen that I want to share and then hit share. And that is how you guys will actually get to see what I'm presenting. So that's how I did it when I first initiated this meeting. I do share my entire screen. That's my preference. I click on it and I hit share, and then now everyone sees my screen. So that's an option. And then you have a tab. So utilize whichever one's gonna work best for you. Is everyone good with using the present now button? All right, the 3 dots. This is where you're gonna get more options. This is where you can come and record your meeting.
Nikki, can I ask one thing real quick? Have they taken off ability for students to present over you?
No, the students could still, somebody could still present. So that will have to, you have to go over there with them until they get that done, but somebody could take over and present. It happened just the other day, presenter was presenting and the student just took over. So they have not fixed that yet.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm still a little shaky on that, where you have the tab, the Chrome, and the present. I was wondering one more time. If you have to do it at the end, that's fine, but I'm still.
No, I can go over it. So okay. What you shaky on so I can make sure I hit it.
Okay, like all 3 of them. Like I still, for some reason, I'm struggling with, I'm looking at it here, but I'm struggling with what are the kids seeing? What the kids are.
And so let me give you it's always good to have, so I'm on my MacBook, my work computer, but I also I'm signed into the Google Meeting on my cell phone because I always want to know, I want to have access to the chat because right now, I don't want to have the chat open on my screen while I'm presenting. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want that. And I want to be able to see the chat. I want to interact and I want to see what's going on from the student's view. So I have it open on my cell phone so I can see what's going on another screen, if you get what I'm saying.
I understand.
And then, like I said, these options, you got to do what's best for you. I prefer just doing your entire screen. That way, when I click from tab to tab, I don't have to worry if my screen is showing. You see what I'm saying? I know I'm sharing my entire screen so I can navigate from whatever tabs I have open. This one, Yes,
So in other words, the students don't see everything from your screen. Is that correct?
What do you mean? Well, if I do in my entire screen, they're gonna see whatever's on my screen.
Well, they won't see all of your tabs. They won't see.
Yeah, you can see my tabs up here, huh? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see them. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They'll see that. If you don't want that, then you could do a window, and then you see how it pops up. It lets me choose which window I want to share. You see what I'm saying? But I don't want to have to worry about doing. That's why I say you got to go in there and practice and play with it and see which one gonna work better for you. For me personally, it's just a personal preference. I prefer the entire screen. That way, I know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that they're seeing what I want them to see when I click from tab to tab.
Okay.
And then you have the Chrome tab, and then see how it pulls up with this.
Yes.
I definitely don't recommend you clicking. So how I have all these tabs, I gotta keep clicking. I don't want to have to do that. I feel like that's wasting instructional time.
I got you. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So the 3 dots is where you're going to get more options. Teachers, this is where you're going to come to record your meeting. So
I'm sorry, Ms. Washington.
Yes.
We had a quick question in the chat that I think is relevant right now.
Okay.
It is, are you able to show more than one screen at a time? I think that has to do with you probably I can
show more than one screen, because if I do this, see, if I'm doing this, I can show multiple tabs, and y'all can see I can resize them and do that. Yes, you definitely can. There's an extension, I think it's called Resize Tab Scissors or something like that, and I can resize it to show more than one tab or screen. Yes, it's definitely something you would have to play with beforehand and not try to figure it out while you're online with your students. I wouldn't. Did that answer y'all's question? All right, Ms. Paten, I'm good?
Perfect.
All right. So back to the...
I have a question on the presentation.
Yes.
Is there a way where the students, when they look at the monitor, they see everything that we're teaching, we're teaching them, but then is there a way that you can take your picture and make it real small, like off to the side, like almost like when you're looking at the news or something? Do you know what I'm saying?
So you want to, yes, ma'am. You want a window showing of you
where they can see me, but I'm small off to the side in a little corner. And the screen is big, and they all, they see all the instruments.
Yes, ma'am. There is one way you can do that. I will have to create, so Miss Paten, jot that down for me too. I'll do this as soon as I finish the meeting. One way to do that is you can use Zoom. Nobody will be in your Zoom, just you. And then the Zoom window is tiny, like you want it, and you can move it wherever you want around on your screen, and the students will still see your whole entire presentation.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for.
All right, so I'll create you a screencast on how to do that. I'll have to do it right after we finish, and just drop your email in there so Ms. Paten can get it, or I'll make sure everybody gets it if you're interested in doing it.
Okay, yes,
I'll make sure I get that to you.
Only because I just want the kids to know that even if I can't see them, it's an illusion that I'm watching them. I don't know if I can see them, if they can see, they'll be able to see me, but I want them to think that even if I can't see them.
Yes, ma'am. I definitely understand. Yes, ma'am. They suggest, that is one of what the research shows. They suggest that teachers do that to make themselves visible and not just hide behind the camera. They want you to make yourself visible. So yes, ma'am, I definitely understand.
Right. Thank you very much, ma'am.
All right. So look, this is where you go to record the meeting. You can change your layout. These are the options that Google has right now: the sidebar, the spotlight, and the tiled. So you definitely play with that and choose your preference. And this is where you can also come to turn on the captions. And the settings part is important. maybe you need to troubleshoot with a student or yourself, you're having audio or microphone problems. Sometimes if you download additional microphone and speaker software, you have to come over here and choose the appropriate one. So you might have to come here and do that. So this is where you check those settings here. And then of course, this is you use for phone audio. If some people for whatever reason want to use their phone for audio because maybe their mic is not working or they don't have a built-in microphone, this is what they would do. It will walk them through that. So definitely use those 3 dots to go through those settings. Let me end this one for a second, and then I'm gonna go to this one right here. I'm gonna stop presenting my screen for just, well, no, I don't have to. Just show you this part. Now, as the teacher, remember, I said you have to be the first one in and the first one out. So let's say, okay, you're teaching your lesson, you've closed, you've ended your lesson, y'all said your goodbyes, and you just still have some kids hanging around in there. And you're ready to go because you're done. You may have an appointment and it's just time to end. You have to say goodbye and they just don't want to leave. So let me go back and click on this again. So you see this little icon right here with the people. It tells you how many people are in here. And you click on it and it shows you all of your participants. As the organizer, the teacher, you will be the organizer of this Google meeting. As the organizer, this is where you come to manage your students. So this is where you can come and click on to see what's going on. But also I could click to maybe pin a student, or maybe the student isn't muted. This is where I can come and click to mute that student right here. So when you run across students that are not muted, come here and this is where you can mute the students. But also, this is very important. This little circle dot right here, there's a little circle with a line through it. If your students are refusing to leave your class, they just don't want to leave, they're having such a great time, but you know you have to go, class is over, click that button and go and manually remove all of the students from your meeting. Remove them and then you end the meeting. And that way you're making sure that your Google Meet video conference is secure. You removed all of them out of your meeting. And then as a security purpose, if you want to go to the Google Classroom and turn it off until the next day, just to feel safe and secure, you can do that. But if for whatever reason, if you have kids in there that do not want to remove themselves, they don't want to leave, come to the people area, click on the circle with the line in it, and remove the participants. All right. And then of course you have your chat. Utilize your chat to drop comments and ask questions, and of course links to files and resources that you need for your students. So definitely using Google Meet is a learning curve, but you have to practice with it. They make it very user-friendly, as someone stated earlier. It's very user-friendly, easy to use. Now, there are some Chrome extensions that you can download from the web store. If you're a pro and you know about the Chrome web store, you can go to the Chrome web store and download extensions. One extension that I have for Google Meet that I like and I enjoy is the nod feature. If you and your students, and you'll see right here, if you and your students download this extension, they can raise their hand by clicking on here. And as a teacher, if you have the extension and they have the extension, we'll all see who has their hand raised. And it'll stay here as a teacher, and then I can just click off of it. And it's right here in this corner here. So if I go to the Chrome web store and I type in Google Meet Nod, I can download that extension. And if you see it right here, it's the little thumbs up extension icon. It's so small. See if I can make it's not gonna make that bigger. And that's what that extension does. So instead of them unmuting themselves to say, I have a question, you can use that extension and they can raise their hand, or they could give you a thumbs up if they agree or a thumbs down. So it's a pretty cool extension. Yes, IT has allowed this extension. You will be able to download it. Only the extensions that I mentioned today are the only ones that I know that IT have unblocked. Yes, this extension is unblocked and you are able to download it, and your students here. So please utilize that extension if you wanted to. It's called NOD, N-O-D. Let me type it in the comment box. It's called NOD. Just type in, when you go to the Chrome web store, type in Google Meet and NOD, and it'll pull up. It's called NOD Reactions for Google Meet. It's a great extension. I thought you would appreciate using that with your students so they can just raise their hand and wait to be called upon. All right, so I know y'all, that was a lot of information. We talked about the settings for Google Meet. We looked at the buttons in here, the captions, the 3 dots. Do y'all have any questions about Google Meets? The thumb icon shows up in my extensions, but not right on my screen in Meet. Yeah, you might have to restart it, Ms. McGregor. All right, so are y'all comfortable with Google Meet? We want to make sure that you're comfortable because it is something you have to use for summer remediation. We don't want you to feel afraid. We are here to support you through this process. So are y'all comfortable and pretty good with using Google Meets now? If not, let me know. Hold me accountable and I'll clarify anything that I need to clarify. The K app is called Cami.
Before everyone leaves, we do have the Goguardian training directly after this.
Yeah, we're not finished.
we know that it's kind of gone a little longer. We were supposed to stop at 4:15. So if you need to leave, please understand, we understand. A recording of this training will be made available. We're going to email it to Mrs. Mayweather, and she will stick it into the Google Classroom that you guys have access to, or either give it to your leads, and they will give it to you guys. But if you can stay, we're going to go ahead and start talking about Goguardian. And then, like I said, if you cannot stay, we understand. But it should be about maybe another 25 minutes.
I think about 10 minutes because let me gauge where y'all are with Goguardian. Has everybody used Goguardian? Are you familiar with it? We can talk about the new updates. Yeah, like I said, I recognize a lot of you guys. Y'all are with it, up to date, and you know what's going on. All right, so we'll cover it, and also Ms. Patin will give you access to the presentation. And like I said, we're here to support you. Reach out to us, and we'll definitely help you through this process. And you have your leads; they can contact us. All right. So if you don't have any more questions about Google Meet, Google Classroom, I'm gonna stop presenting, and I'm gonna hand it over to Ms. Patin for about 10 to 15 minutes. Bear with us. You've been a great audience. Y'all been engaged. So we have about 10, 15 more minutes of your time.
Awesome, Ms. Washington. That was amazing. I think we all need to give Ms. Washington a round of applause. That was so engaging. Excuse me. Yay.
Yes.
Oh, thank y'all.
All right, guys. So this is going to be quick, but hopefully informative. If you need to, if you need for us to reiterate anything that we go over, reach out to us. Our email addresses are on that first slide. I see that a lot of you guys already know things about Goguardian. And if you know about Goguardian, you know it's a great way that we can manage student Chromebooks and devices. And also, you probably spent the whole year dealing with another shall not be named thing that we monitor devices, but now we're back to Goguardian, which is so user-friendly. You can access some resources on this URL right here. It's tinyurl.com/EBR Goguardian. It has everything that we're going to talk about today, and it also has some great troubleshooting tips at the end of the presentation for you to do and try out if you have some problems in Goguardian. So the training guide looks just like this. So what I did is I imported this training guide into Nearpod. Shout out to Nearpod, which is a great integration tool. I'm going to go through this slideshow. This is teacher controlled slideshow, and I'm going to kind of just go back through the presentation, and then go to the live portal of Goguardian back and forth real quick. So we've used Goguardian before. To get to the Goguardian portal, you can open a new tab, and I just kind of type in, you can go to teacher.goguardian.com, or I use a Google search for mostly everything, teacher Goguardian login. And when we get there, you're going to make sure that you log in with the Google. This is great because once you get everybody set up in your class with your Google Classroom, we're going to sync our rosters from Google Classroom to Goguardian. Now, someone mentioned at the beginning and asked if we will notice if a student leaves our our Google Classroom. Well, if you have imported and synced your rosters from Google Classroom, and you notice that a student is missing one day, well, some tricky things might happen that you might have dealt with before. Someone might be leaving your Google Classroom, and this affects your ability to monitor them in Goguardian. So let's get to it. So when you log into Goguardian, you have some options here. You have teacher, classroom, scenes, some reports, and this great help section right here. As you can see, I have many classes that I've already imported, and they kind of look like the cards where you saw in Google Classroom. So they're exactly. So to get the classrooms, if you don't see them right here, you would go to Add Classroom. And we don't have to fill all of that stuff out. We can just go all the way down to this button right here and click on Add Google Classroom. Now, some of these things are a little tricky, because if you notice here, I have, of course, I imported this class already, and it is live. But here, I'm a teacher in this classroom, but I can't import it. I'll tell you why in a second. If you are an owner, or I'm sorry, a co-owner in a Google Classroom, but it's hard, you can't directly import those classrooms yourself. You have to ask the originator or owner of the Google Classroom. So to import your class, you would go ahead and click on the class, and then it would sync right here, and you would get the classroom cards. Now, if you ever come upon a problem that your classes are not syncing very well, it's helpful if you go to this area in the top right corner where you see your name, click on your name, and then your account settings. And then in Google Classroom, sometimes you need to reconnect your Google account. And this will just take you through the Google login again. And that's it. That's just a quick troubleshooting tip. So we were at Classroom, and this is a fun class that I've just been playing around with. Harry Potter fans, you would know this class. So we would get all the students that we also have active in our Google Classroom. But to begin, we would need to start a session. You have two options. Most teachers just choose to start a session when the students go in the classroom or go live. Now, I'm not unsure about how summer remediation is going to go, because you have two options. You can either start a session right away, or you can schedule a session for monitoring. We recommend, if you don't have the same students at the same time every day, to just go ahead and start a session from here. And this is pretty simple. You would just select the time that you want, how long you want to monitor your students. You can customize it if you want to, how long, when you want it to end. And then you go ahead and select what class, what scene, and we'll talk about what a scene means. And then you would hit, if you want to exclude a student from the session, maybe that student is absent, or you want to, let's say, have the whole class, but maybe that student is in a different class for that day.
Ms. Patron, I'm sorry.
Sure.
Yes, I want to address the IT only has it set up. Goguardian is only set up to monitor on the school issued devices. They have already sent out the Goguardian extensions. They're only set up to monitor our school issued devices. So, of course, we don't have permission to send out those extensions to the students' personal devices at home. So yes, this is only for our school issued devices.
Thanks, Ms. Washington. All right. And we also had another question that says, what does it mean if I see a student is online, but I can't see their screen because it says monitor is restricted? So like Ms. Washington said in the chat box, this is usually an error message. So maybe they have some kind of funky thing going on when they're logged into 2 different devices at the same time. Or they might be logged into like a personal Chromebook instead of an EBR issued Chromebook. Okay, so we would go ahead and start the student session. Well, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and say I want this to be a 45-minute lesson. Now, I have only 2 students in this classroom. You can see that this student says students not found, but that just means she's not logged into her classroom right now. And we can see snippets of what they're doing in their class. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to London screen and see how we can get a little bit personal, more personal with our students. So I can see what she is currently active in. However, on the side here, she has some funky business going on right here. So she has one other tab in the background, but that she's going back and forth. Now we might have some students that do little things like that. Now I have some options to help her keep on task. I can go ahead and close that for her. Do I want to let her know that I know she's up to funny business? I have the option of chatting with her, and just keeping her on track. Now, this is a great feature when we're face-to-face as well. I love it because sometimes we want to just put one student and get them back on track. However, we don't want to make a big deal out of it. This is just a quick way, and we go ahead and switch that on, that you can say, I see you, or, let's get back on track. And the student and it'll just pop up in their screen, and they have the ability to respond to you. And I love it. Some teachers even say, like, when they were face-to-face and they were absent for the day, you know how teachers are, we're always worried about our classes when we're not with them. They still kind of monitor what kids were doing on their Chromebook and sent them little cute messages this way. This is an awesome, amazing feature. All right, so from the students, from each personal student, you can do a couple of things. You can open up a new tab and direct that student to a website that you would want. You click on it, and then you would type in the URL right here. I just had some Louisiana Purchase stuff open. And you can go ahead and you can send them just any URL to that student right there. And it would direct them to that website. If they were doing some, let's say some shenanigans and you wanted to actually lock the device, you can do that as well. That there's nothing that could be going on there. She can't work on it. And then speaking of, let's say we could do this in 2 ways. This screenshot thing is awesome. We can either catch them in the act of doing something great, or you can catch them in the act of doing something a little fishy. Screenshots are exactly what we know from using our cell phones. A screenshot will take a picture of whatever they're doing on their screen, and we could use it later for whatever we need to. And I'll show you how we can get that. You can also exclude that student from anything that you want to push out to the rest of the class. Like if we also have the ability to send out, send the whole class mass websites if we want. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel that. All right. I see it in the chat. It says, remember to unlock so other teachers can monitor them later in class. That is great. We always want to make a best practice to end the session when we're done, so someone else can monitor it. However, if there is the ability to have 2 sessions running simultaneously, and we'll get to that in a second. So remember I did that snapshot of what she was doing on her screen. You notice I have 1 available picture right here that I can either download it to my personal device, or I can save it to my Google Drive and have it saved there to use later, however I want to use it. Okay. And we also have timelines of just a consistent timeline of what that student was doing online that we can also just take a look at if we were monitoring for a very long class. Something fishy happened between 12 and 1, but we don't exactly know what time it happened. We can take a look on here. And of course, if I had students who were live in my classroom, I would have more details right here. You can see this is when I sent that Louisiana guide to her, is when something changed. Okay, so I was saying that you can run multiple sessions at the same time. So here is my Defense Against the Dark Arts class, so I can also go to classrooms again and run another class, like this potions class. Let's see if I have students in it. Yes. Okay, before I hit start on this session, let's go to this tab, and I want you to see where it says teachers, that I am the only teacher in this class. So I can do a couple of things. If I want to add a co-teacher and give her the ability, or him the ability, to monitor this class, I can do it from right here. I'm going to search by name. I'm going to search Miss Washington. There she is. I can then assign a role to this person. There's a couple of different access abilities that you can give them. Giving them owner access is just giving them the same tools as you do as a teacher. And then teacher and helper kind of limits them. This would be great for if you have a consistent substitute in your classroom, or if you have a para. It gives them the ability to monitor. It's actually in the presentation. I'm gonna zoom through, y'all. Here, it gives them a helper and a teacher. It gives them pretty much the same. You can edit class info, archive a class, add, remove teachers, add, remove students, start students. I'm sorry, you can't do these things, which would be like pretty much fooling with your roster and your private student info. But they can still pretty much monitor and chat and all those great things in your absence. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add her as a teacher or a helper. And I could always remove this person, and I can add them again if I want to change their access. While we're here in the settings, it's just if we want to be a little bit more specific in our class name and subject and description, the classroom name is the only thing that is required in this situation. In settings, we would go to scheduling if we wanted to consistently monitor a student at the same time every day. And reporting, if you notice, I have this checked off. As after every session, I'll get a summarized report of what went on in the session. And I have one in my email right here. Oops. It would just give you, and I'll show you that in a second. It just gives you a consistent monitor of each student, what their activity was, what their productivity was. I'm going to go to the chat, and it says, we always make a grade level Google Classroom and sync it as well to monitor all students. It is a great idea for leads, because then you can make possibly make one Google Classroom, and then of course you do have to remember it's separate. You have to go to Goguardian and toggle and add each teacher as an owner and give everybody access. It doesn't automatically, the teachers don't sync from Google Classroom, the kids sync, if y'all kind of understand it that way. Okay, so we went through all that. Let's go to scenes. Scenes are great. Scenes are not classes of students. Scenes are your ability to to filter the good things that the bad things you want out of your class. It can give you the ability to create a test-like environment. This would be a good way that you can block all things except the test that you want to give, instead of like locking down your Chromebook. You can automatically open web pages from here for your students. And you could also, and I think I said, you can blacklist some websites that you don't want students to get to, social media, whatever you want. So to do that, you would go to add scene and create a scene. This pattern right here is just something cool just to keep another, like, how do you identify your scene? But this is what is required right here. So you would name your scene and say this, you might want this to be, let's say, my Louisiana Purchase quiz. And you would, of course, give it a description. Or maybe this would be a research quiz. The next part is pretty cool, are your filters. And there are two different modes. We kind of have to think about the words that they're saying. In the allow mode, you want to allow all websites will be allowed, except for the ones that you want to block, blocked below. So if you were one of those people that you were like, no, I want to block the entire YouTube, we're never going to watch a video on YouTube, this is where you would actually put it. So everything except YouTube. Now, YouTube can be a great tool for learning. Just keep that in mind. You can also remove it. Okay. We have a different mode, is block mode. That means all websites will be blocked except for those allowed below. So say you were giving a quiz, and you kind of want to, you want to limit the websites that your students can go to for that assignment right there. So you have two options. You can manually copy and paste or enter the URL you do want them to go to right here. And they would only be able to go to this URL and no others. If this is a quiz that you're going to use for several classes, you can create a list, and you can say, well, this was my Louisiana Purchase. And you can add some websites there as well. And this would shut down their Chromebook to whatever you have allowed right here. This is pretty awesome as well. This is the tab management. In this setting, you can go ahead and you can send a website to your student for you to open. So if you're a teacher of littles, you know that sometimes when you want them to actually type in a website and the URL gets all complicated, they all have kind of some O's that look like zeros and all that crazy stuff like here, you can copy and paste it into this box right here, and it would automatically just pop up on their computers like magic. It's magical. Also fantastic, right here, you can limit the maximum number of tabs that you want open. Now, all of us might have a billion tabs open right here just because Google has, every time we click on a link, a new tab opens. But sometimes our work can get lost. Maybe sometimes we just want to limit if they have a tab hiding in the background, we want to limit the amount of tabs open. I like maxing it to, I'm going to give them some leeway. Hey, you could have 5 tabs open. Some people would say that's too many tabs for the little kids, but as you can see, I'm a fan of tabs. So this means that when the students are in that session, they can only have a max of 5 tabs open in their browser. Okay, and remember our name of our scene, and we'll go ahead and save that scene. So now we have those filtering restrictions for whenever we want to use it as a scene. To do that, to use it, actually, we would remember, go to Classroom. And now this time, I'm still running this Defensive Dark Arts class. I'm going to go ahead and start potions, but this time for 45 minutes, I'm going to apply the Louisiana Purchase scene to this class. I'm going to go ahead and start session. I can toggle back and forth and still keep an eye on the other class that I had live. Okay. If I had started the class for 45 minutes and my clock is ticking down, we need more time, we can always update the time by clicking right here and extend it by minutes or have an end time right there. Okay, do we have any questions right now? This is pretty much it. Goguardian is really fun. There's a great help section here. There's great how-to guides. If you're a fan of watching video trainings, you can get them right here. This is a great library of tools. And so we will remember to get the reports. We want to go ahead and end session. And here's my other class. I'm going to end session. And remember, if you leave campus or you close your laptop and you forget to end session, if you had started it by extending your class by 45 minutes, it would just go ahead and end that session for you. So this is a snapshot of just a timeline of what the activity was. And then just real quick, I think I got an email. I'm going to refresh. Let's see. In a second. It'll give it to me a second. I'll share it with you guys when I get it, of the report. But we can also go right here at student reports and select the class, the student's name, and then we can generate a report of their activity that way as well. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions about Goguardian? All right, everybody ready for Miss Washington Tutu Jamboard? I know I am.
I just want to say, because somebody asked,
sure,
and I really figured it out. Somebody asked if the students log in on their personal account on their personal computer with their EBR information, would you be able to see it on Google and Goguardian, no, it's gonna come up and say, it might come up and say that the account is restricted. So we can't really say. I don't know if they have purchased that portion of that feature. I know in the past when we first had Goguardian, we could, but we're waiting on a definite response back from IT about that. But as far as we know, you cannot.
And just want to point out, if anybody was wondering, in your Google Classrooms, right here, you can see that I have this class that says school and district leaders. And that's where a classroom I'm a student. We don't have that turned on. You don't have to worry about, if you are a part of Google Classroom, is somebody monitoring your Chromebook and monitoring you? You don't have to worry about that. The other thing, let's see, some people have questions about archive class. This is something that you want to make sure that you do at every year and every session, just because we don't want any tricky things happening with, when students are in a new class. We don't want anything to happen. We don't want it to get confused. Goguardian to get confused about who has rights to that student and such.
All right, you guys, we have a question and a comment. I'm not sure if Ms. Mayweather is still on here. You have to refer that to Ms. Mayweather. Mrs. Mayweather, or your lead. I'm not sure about y'all process with clocking out and the time. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. Please refer that to someone in summer remediation. But we're not going to hold you guys any longer. Let me share my screen. I do want you to remember to go to the presentation, and you have access to anybody on this presentation. Email us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. You need any support while you're doing your distance learning for summer remediation or whatever your needs are. Feel free to reach out to us. You have this presentation. After I finish this call, I'm gonna add the links that you asked for at the end. So I'll show you the two things that I remember. I'll add it to the end of this presentation, so you don't have to go looking for it. I'll put it at the end of this presentation on a new slide for you. And I'll put the names of the extensions for Google Meet there as well. So if you guys don't have any questions, comments, or concerns, have a great evening. Like I said before, we're here to support you through this process. If you need anything, reach out to us. We're definitely here to support you. Don't feel like you can't reach out. We're going to support you. We'll help you through this process. That's our job. So we're willing to do our job. So just let us know if you need anything. You've been a great audience. I know we kept you over time. Sorry, but I want to make sure you were good before you actually started summer remediation.
Miss Nikki.
Yes.
They said this presentation is going to be in the lead teachers Google Classroom. We won't have access to it.
Okay, but you have access to the you want a recording of the presentation?
Yeah, what we just did, and yeah, whatever you're gonna send.
Okay, I'll put all of this on this Google slide. Did you write down the URL for this slide?
Which one? The tiny URL?
Right here. I'm gonna put it back up. tinyurl.com/EDR summer. I'm gonna drop all resources that y'all asked for.
Okay.
And put it on the end of the slide.
Thanks, you're fabulous.
No problem. All right, y'all have a good evening. Me and Ms. Potana hang around a few more minutes. If y'all have questions, y'all just want to hang out with us for whatever reason. But y'all can go ahead if you would like and go and eat your dinner or start your dinner. And I hope y'all have a great summer, and I hope it goes smooth for your summer remediation.
Miss Washington.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. This is Miss Gordon. Just on a side note with Google Classroom. I was watching my daughter's Google Classroom, and on the right side of her screen, and I didn't see it on yours with a student. There was a box that said she could check that she was done, and then put a little private comment to the teacher for that assignment. Is that something that's an extension, or is something
no, ma'am, that's built in. I showed that. So if I go to my nephews and I go to, let me see, I'll go to something, when they go to their assignments and I view the assignment, that's just a new feature that Google's added. They can attach something, mark it as done if need be, and they can send a private. That's not an extension. That's into Google Classroom now.
Okay,
because you will get private messages from your students.
Okay, because hers was in that right-hand corner. I saw when you did that, but hers is like in the right-hand corner.
I have my screen blew up a little bit bigger, so that could be it too.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am.
No problem. All right, you guys, if there's no more questions, I'm going to, let me see. Ms. Potan might have to do it. We're going to go ahead and end this call and remove all of you guys from this call. So like I said, have a great evening. Feel free to reach out to us. We are going to support you through this process. If you need anything, just contact us. We'll get back to you within a short period of time. Oh, Miss Rasha, we want to hang out. We gotta go, girl.